Hi, my name's Jeff Barkman and I talk about things. Thank you so much for watching my video. I really appreciate it. I'm trying to build my audience right now, and there's two things that you could do to really help me. One would be to like this video wherever you're watching it. If you hit that little like button, there's a chance that the algorithm of the site that we're on will put my video in front of people that I haven't met yet. The other thing you can do is you can share my video and intentionally put me in front of people that I haven't met yet. If you do one or either of those things, I'll be super appreciative. So today I want to talk about something that's really close to my heart. As you can see, the title of the video is People Leave the Church for Good Reasons. I think I've had enough conversations in my life where people are kind of hating on someone who just decided that they didn't want to go to church anymore. And if you know my story, you know that I grew up in the church and left the church for 10 years and then came back. And the interesting thing about my story is that when I was outside of the church, I still had a relationship with God the entire time. A lot of people want to talk about, I remember one time I went to church, I think I missed one Sunday and I came to church and this guy came over to me and goes, "Oh, Jeff, oh, I'm so relieved to see you. I thought you'd backslidden." It's just this ridiculous notion that that's even a thing. Anyway, that was totally off my notes. Let me get to my notes. None of the reasons that people leave the church are that they were exposed to an authentic encounter with God and thought, meh. The love of God is transformative, and like the breakthrough power of the love of God, the authentic encounters with the love of God, change people. They're never the same again. And the thing that is maybe helping people get out of the church is calling something an encounter with the love of God that is not an encounter with the love of God. This might be a little bit of a harsh video, you guys. I have a lot of love for the church, big C church, little C church. I have a lot of love for the church. I have a core value in my life that I hold on to hope in a glorious church. And this is the reason that I'm making this video, so I can highlight certain things that I've seen become patterns that are unhelpful for the spreading of the actual gospel. So I'll say this, to the degree that we live out of touch with ultimate reality, we are irrelevant. What do I mean by that? Ultimate reality, I would define as God's perspective on what this thing is that we call reality. And to the degree that we're not connected to it, we're irrelevant. People love to quote the scripture that God's the same yesterday, today, and forever when they're trying to get people to not change, or when they're trying to do things the way we used to do them in the good old days. Here's the thing. God is the same yesterday, today, and forever, and that means that he is the maximum amount of relevant. He's able to speak past all of our lenses, past all of our defense mechanisms, past all of our walls, and he's able to speak 100% truth, which we don't have. We have a perception that's finite. He's able to speak 100% truth into the depths, the foundations of our hearts. And when he does that, it changes us. It changes things. It causes life and change. And so to the degree that we're not in touch with ultimate reality, we're irrelevant. And the trouble is, if we build a community, or if we attempt to build a community around being out of touch with ultimate reality, the inauthenticity, is that even a word? the inauthenticity will stink to people from outside of our group. And the trouble is, if we don't notice that, then the maturation of that inauthenticity actually turns into a place where, I remember being in a group where we were doing things that were just completely ostracizing people outside of our group. And we were celebrating it because we were like, look, we're being persecuted. We're sharing in the sufferings of Christ. And that's not what Jesus did. Jesus didn't go around ostracizing people. In fact, people wanted to be around him. And so my point is that if we actually are in touch with Jesus, if we are being conformed into the image of Jesus, we're going to become more attractive to people outside of the church, not less attractive to people outside the church. Yeah, and when you start to celebrate the persecution that you start to get even further out of sync with ultimate reality. And the thing is what people crave is connection, authentic connection. And a community that's based around inauthenticity will never be able to cultivate authentic connections in their body, in their midst. And the reason is because connection requires authenticity. Connection requires me to show you what's inside of me vulnerably, to be met with acceptance. If you don't actually get to see the reality of what's inside of other people, you won't be able to connect. And if you're in a community that has no value for the reality of what's inside of people, if you're in a community that actually has rules that you're not allowed to think certain ways, or you're not allowed to ask certain questions, or you're not allowed to have certain opinions, or you're not allowed to have certain politics, you're in a community that disallows connection. And outsiders don't want a community that disallows connection. Outsiders want connection. So if there's a core value at work in any community that says our worldview is infallible, then that community by its nature will be ostracizing. And the trouble is if the community by its nature is ostracizing, then nobody even in the community is getting connection. It's a culture for no reason. And that whole like being okay with ostracizing people, that heart motivation, that heart posture, I would say is more in line with the spirit of religion. And I think like in the first century, the spirit of religion was looking for a military Messiah. They were looking for the Messiah to manifest and deliver them from Roman oppression. And they got somebody totally different. He wasn't a military Messiah. He was like the opposite of the military Messiah that they thought they were getting. But I think religion is still looking for a military Messiah. And so I want us to disconnect from that spirit of religion that is all rules and is okay to ostracize people. And I want us to connect to this idea that if we actually are manifesting Jesus, the real, authentic, living, risen Jesus in the earth, we're going to be the most attractive people on the planet. We're going to be the most attractive community on the planet. We're going to be the most attractive organizations on the planet. I don't know if the grammar on that last sentence was correct, but people want the one true risen Jesus. When he was walking the earth in the flesh, like tax collectors and prostitutes and all of these different people were like drawn to him. Even Pharisees were drawn to him. Everybody was drawn to him. He had this natural, supernatural attractivity that is available to us if we connect to ultimate reality, if we connect to what God is doing in the earth. Like Haggai 2:7 is where we get these names that we call Jesus. The desire of the nations, fairest among 10,000, we get out of Song of Songs. Lily of the valley, we get out of Song of Songs. Bright and morning star, we get out of Revelation 22. Like Jesus is attractiveness incarnate. And there's a scripture, I'll find the reference later, but there's a scripture that describes the gospel. And it says that one of the characters of the gospel is that it never fails. The gospel never fails. The gospel, there's momentum that started at the cross that hasn't slowed down and never will slow down. And it's always powerful and it's always effective. And so what I'm looking at in my life is, where is my current understanding of the gospel wrong? And you know how you can tell where it's wrong is where it doesn't have power, where it doesn't, where it's irrelevant, where it's not effective. I would challenge you, just like I'm challenging myself, to say these are the places that I need to pay attention to in my understanding of the gospel. Because he's relevant and attractive. So I'll leave you with this. The answer to people leaving the church is to recognize that the church is the problem, not people. So thank you so much for watching my video. I really appreciate you coming and taking the time to listen to me rant. You could go ahead and like, share, comment, and subscribe. And if you're on YouTube, there will be a subscription bubble right here. And if you'd like to watch one of my acoustic sessions, one of my songs, just click on this thing here. Bless you.